There was a time where Nintendo released a console that was more powerful than the PS2, cheaper than the Xbox, and home to some of the greatest games ever made, and yet it finished dead last. This is the Nintendo. Released in 2001, discontinued in 2007, and across its entire lifetime, it only sold 22 million units. To put that into perspective, the PlayStation 2, which was released a year before the GameCube, sold 155 million units. The GameCube didn't just lose that generation, it got buried. And yet, ask people today what their favorite console of all time is, and you'll be surprised how many times the GameCube comes up. This console has one of the most beloved libraries in gaming history. So what happened? How does a good console lose this badly? Let's talk about it. To better understand the GameCube situation, you have to first understand what it was walking into. Nintendo was just coming off the back of the N64, partly because Nintendo stubbornly stuck with game cartridges while PlayStation embraced CDs. Third-party developers drifted to Sony, where the licensing was easier and the storage was bigger. Then, in the year 2000, a year before the GameCube was released, PlayStation released the PlayStation 2, which wasn't just a console release, it was a cultural event. The PS2 played DVDs at a time where standalone DVD players were not cheap. For many families, the PS2 was the cheapest way to get a DVD player into the house, and it happened to also play games. The PS2 also had a year's head start, a massive third-party lineup, and a bit of a reputation for being a very sleek machine. That's the type of storm the GameCube sailed into in November 2001. And to make matters even worse, it launched in the same exact week as the newest competitor, Microsoft's Xbox. Now here's the thing about the GameCube. On paper, it was a great machine. It had way more raw power than the PlayStation 2, it was cheaper than both the PlayStation 2 and the Xbox, and it had a controller that to this day, people consider to be one of the most comfortable controllers ever made. But none of that mattered because of how it looked. Sony gave you a matte black tower that looked like high-end cinema equipment. The original Xbox, despite me personally not really liking the look, it still gave you that nice intimidating green. Nintendo, on the other hand, they gave you a small indigo purple cube with a handle so you can carry it around like it's a lunchbox. Fast forward to today, we have the Steam machine and people don't seem to have any qualms about the design, so you could really say that the GameCube was way ahead of its time. Gaming was changing in the early 2000s. The kids that grew up with the NES and the SNES are now teenagers and adults. They wanted GTA, Metal Gear Solid, Halo. They wanted gaming to feel grown up. And the GameCube looked like a toy. You know, the purple color, the handle, the cute little discs. All of those things enforced an image that the GameCube just couldn't shake off. The image that this console was just made for kids. And then there was those discs. To fight piracy and to also avoid paying DVD licensing fees, Nintendo opted to go with small 8cm mini discs that can only hold up to 1.5 gigabytes compared to DVD disc, which held over 4 gigabytes. This meant no DVD playback, which already removed the PlayStation's main selling point. And it also meant less space for games, which gave third-party developers more reasons to not prioritize the console. One decision made for sensible internal reasons damaged everything around it. Where have we heard about that before on this channel? And yet, while the GameCube was losing the sales war, it was quietly building one of the greatest libraries in gaming history. Super Smash Bros. Melee, the best-selling game on the console, and a game that's so beloved that even today, 25 years later, it is still being played competitively. Metroid Prime, which took a series that people said could never work in 3D, and it produced a masterpiece. Wind Waker, whose cartoon art style was very hated at the time of its reveal, but now is considered a timeless game. Mario Kart Double Dash, Luigi's Mansion, Animal Crossing's first Western release, the list just really keeps going. This is the strange contradiction at the heart of the GameCube. Commercially, it was Nintendo's worst performing home console up until that point. Creatively, it was one of their absolute peaks. By the middle of the 2000s, the results came in and the results were clear. The PS2 had won the generation by one of the largest margins in gaming history. The Xbox, which was the brand new competitor on its first attempt at a console, came in second place, and the GameCube finished in third place with around 22 million units sold. For comparison, the N64, Nintendo's previous console, which was considered its first stumble, sold 33 million units. Nintendo was at a crossroads. Some people genuinely considered whether Nintendo was going to follow in Sega's footsteps and completely abandon the hardware business. Instead, they did something very Nintendo. They stopped competing for power altogether. Their next console wouldn't try to outmuscle Sony and Microsoft. It would try something completely different. Motion controls. The Wii became one of the best-selling consoles of all time. And here's a detail that I love. Inside that Wii was just an upgraded GameCube. Same architecture, faster clocks. The console that failed became the literal foundation of the console that conquered the world. And still, looking back, it's hard not to feel that the GameCube was judged on all the wrong things. It lost because it didn't play DVDs, because it was purple, because it had a handle, because it looked like a toy, in an era where gaming desperately wanted to seem more grown up. Almost none of the reasons why it failed had anything to do with the games. The GameCube wasn't a bad console that deserved to fail. It was a good console that showed up to the wrong fight. If you guys enjoyed this video, leave a comment, leave a like, tell us what you want us to make in the future, and share this video with anyone who would enjoy this type of content. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next Lemon Tech video.